You're tuned in to a one-take podcast production.
This is the time of year we wait for all the time, all year long. This is what we wait for.
Are you ready?
Yo, Jacksonville Jaguars has to be a team full of sleepers. You talk to fantasy football and you're not looking at the Jacksonville Jaguars for deep sleepers. I don't know what to tell you. It is reality football. It's Andrew Luck all day. It's no better quarterback in fantasy football than Andrew Luck. You can keep your A-Rod, you can keep your Paytons. Give me Luck. I want the touchdowns, the rushing touchdowns. Give me Luck. If you're watching football and not playing fantasy football, then you're not watching football because it's no longer fantasy. It's a reality.
What's up, world? That's right, you're tuned in to the very special It's Not Fantasy, It's Reality Fantasy Football Daily Weekly Podcast. I am none other than One Take's very own, the hardest working man in podcast, the host with the most, Mr. Dab 1024, Brandon M. Davenport, and of course, Jim Shoe Johnny. And yes, we are getting closer and closer to that time of year. As in the intro it stated, this is the time of year that we wait for all year long. It is closer to fantasy football than we ever been. Some leagues are already drafting, some people are in preparation. But for those of you who just don't have that edge of becoming a champion just yet, or just need the extra push, that's what us guys over here at One Take Podcast are here for. We have a 7-part series, the essential guide to a one take championship season. You got one take at life and you got one take at getting the championship season when it comes to fantasy sports. And we will cover all bases from names to sleepers to draft rounds to everything. But before any of that can happen, part one is essential to your draft and your whole season. You must know your league. And today I will have a special caller coming in, another one of my One Take very own brothers. Mr. Andrew will be on the show a little later. So we're going to get ready and get into this thing and knock it out. First thing you say, what do you mean knowing your league? A key thing of fantasy football is knowing your league. Like, you have to know the premise of your league, the scoring system. It's plenty of things you need to look for. Like, one thing I like to say, if you're in a live action league where you actually draft live, knowing your opponent, knowing the people that's drafting around you, because one thing about hometown teams, they usually draft hometown players early. So if you're in an online league, a big key is get into the draft a little earlier. For whatever other guys that's in there, hit those message boards. Find out where people are from so you can get a feel, okay, this person may take Shady a little earlier if he's from Buffalo. So maybe I can snap Shady up and use him for trade bait because he wants the hometown boy. Find out who their favorite players is. You have to talk with your other teammates. Don't be one of those snobs that get into a fantasy draft online and stay to yourself. Like, talk to the people. Find out something about your opponent so you can know where to go forward from there. Second, and most important, I just broke this cardinal rule the other day. The other day, I went and got into a draft with a couple fellow buddies of mine from PlayStation Network. They set up a draft 2 days prior. I never checked because apparently I didn't listen to this podcast. I joined the league, and maybe 5 minutes before draft, we're in the lobby, and I'm strolling down the positions, and I see 2 quarterbacks. I'm thinking, like, okay, so I need a backup. Then I see defensive end, safety, defensive back, linebacker. And then I see head coach. What? How did I get into this? Because I did not know my league. I signed up for a league that actually tallies defensive points and head coach and victory win percentage. If I would have paid attention to the overview of the league, which the overview should show you the roster breakdown, the scoring breakdown, the free agents breakdown, the waiver, it show you all of that going into the league prior. I wouldn't have been caught in a league where I have to draft defensive players. Now, mind you, this is on a Saturday afternoon, so I'm out driving at the mall stuff, I'm drafting and driving at the same time. So it was tragic. And also, knowing your league, you need to know how many players in your league. Like this league here in particular was a 6-man league. Teams are stacked. Anybody can win any given Sunday because teams are so stacked in this league. So please, people, first thing first, go over the overview of the league. Find out everything you need to know about that league prior to entering the league. Second, know the draft types. Know if you're on a snake draft or if you're on an auction draft. If you're not familiar with snake draft is whoever picks first in the first round picks last in the second round. Whoever picks last in the first round picks first in the second round. It goes back and forth like a seesaw. If you don't know what auction league is, for those of you guys, this would be on another part, who's into the fantasy magazines, you see that price tag next to somebody, that's an auction draft. That shows you what that person should be going on the average. In auction drafts, you need to know if it's auction because you need a different strategy for an auction draft. When it's auction, you don't actually get the player that you draft. You nominate a player and then you guys bid on that player. So make sure you know the drafting format of your league. Then find out what's the scoring system. Is it head-to-head? Is it rotisserie? To this day, I don't understand how people still play rotisserie. That's almost like phoning in your lineup to somebody or mailing it in. Because with rotisserie leagues, points just continue to roll over. Like you don't necessarily count on one individual player. That's why you see a lot of blockbuster trades in rotisserie leagues. Because, like for instance, they may be up high in a quarterback rating. Like they may have passing touchdowns and yardage by a mile, but they're also losing in the rushing yards category. So they may trade a well-named quarterback for 2 running backs just to accumulate some rushing yards. That's why you see that. But rotisserie is very, very outdated to me, and I know some people play rotisserie heavy. I'm more of a head-to-head guy. I'm more of the my team versus your team. Also, find out if your league is a PPR. See if it's points per reception. See if you're in one of those weird touchdown-only leagues. Or you got some leagues where it's 4 points per passing touchdowns. Just check over those scoring because that plays a key part into your decision of drafting and knowing where to get people at, which we will cover in the draft. Also, know what format that you're on. The 3 majors are ESPN, Yahoo, and NFL Network. I prefer Yahoo. I think if you listen to this and you want to start a league, Yahoo is your best bet. Yahoo gives you the most information at hand for fantasy football. So those are a few things I want you guys to look out for. I'm going to talk about a couple more things. Finna bring on my brother. Like I say, he's part of One Take very own. He's calling out Ohio, but he loves the Tigers. He loves the Red Wings. I may disconnect the call because I found out he loves the Cowboys. I want to bring my brother on, Andrew. Andrew, you there, bro?
Yes, I am.
What's up, Andrew? Once again, welcome to the One Take Podcast family. This is your first show with another One Take brother.
Thank you very much. I'm really looking forward to it right now.
That's right. Andrew's another avid fantasy player. So Andrew, I'm asking you, as you just said and heard some of my tips and things to look out for, what are some of the things you look for when you getting ready to sign up for a fantasy season?
Well, first I always look to see how that's set up. I always look to see the scoring. That's my main thing. How many teams are in my league? And like you said, get to know your opponent. I always look to see for tendencies in players. I look for a tell, If they want a certain quarterback, I know, like you said, to draft them and possibly go to trade to them.
Yeah.
I go in for what I need. I do a lot of research, though.
Yeah, me, that'd be another part on the going in what you need. I like to know my opponents. I like to sit back and talk to people. That's why it's almost like punching in for work. I always show up to the draft lobbies early. Maybe I can get a conversation with 4 or 5 guys, and I can see where they at, see who's their favorite player, who they're looking to get. And then, like I say, if you're in a live draft with your buddies where you guys go out and physically meet up with each other, you know their tendencies. Like in my league in particular, we have a young man who was NFC heavy always because he's a Lions fan. And he pays attention to the NFC more than anything. It's like you can get great AFC sleepers if you're picking in front of him or in back of him because he's going to stick with the NFC.
Exactly, and that's like you gotta make sure though, when you're drafting, you wanna make sure you don't always stay loyal to your team. That's an issue that a lot of my friends make. I have Browns fans, so they're always drafting, Browns players. And it's like, you gotta make the team a little more versatile, you gotta look for things, look for better players out there. I mean, the whole league is full, you can pick anything out there.
Yeah, and that's
other than just Browns players.
And that's what I say. Like, if you know somebody from a particular hometown, they may stretch. I seen last year in my particular live league, Joy Bell went in the second round. Joy Bell is not second round material at all. Like, Joy Bell went in the second, and the next pick for me, I took Arian Foster. Like, who takes Joy Bell over Arian Foster? Even a hurt Arian Foster is better than Joy Bell.
Yeah, like when I was in my draft, I made sure the one person I wanted to obey me. I always tried to get Adrian Peterson, but that didn't work out too well for me last year.
Yeah.
But I ended up getting DeMarco.
Well, you won. See, and that's the thing. Like, you gotta also knowing, like me, because we're not gonna hit on drafting too much, because that's another chapter. But like, when it does come to knowing your league, I draft according to my point system. Like, particular, I didn't pay attention to the league I just entered this weekend until the last minute, and once I seen what kind of league it was, by me finding out it started 2 quarterbacks and they give 6 points per touchdown. My first overall pick was Andrew Luck. And then, because I picked last, my second pick, you want to get a good running back, so I took Marshawn. But when it came on the seesaw, when it came back from the snake, when my first pick my last pick in the third round, I took Peyton Manning. Because you telling me I get to start 2 quarterbacks, I'm going to take 2 of the best.
Exactly. I mean, that's a great way to pick. I mean, I'm surprised that Dre would get that. That's great. Most people, I see people take Peyton Manning sometimes number 1. I'm like, he's good, but, got younger players, Andrew Luck, like you said.
Yeah,
I like Andrew Luck.
So you telling me I got a combined 92 touchdowns passed last year on one team? Anywhere else I fill out my team, I feel like I got a solid chance because you let us start 2 quarterbacks. And the rest of the way, that's when I tell you guys, knowing your league, you have to know, like, if you're in a PPR league, Calvin Johnson should not be your number 1 wide receiver at that point. It should be a wide receiver that's big time, that get more touches. Like, for instance, if you're in the PPR, Antonio Brown from Pittsburgh should be your number 1 because he gets more targets. But in the PPR league, someone like Emmanuel Sanders, Golden Tate, the other kid over there in Pittsburgh that turned it on late last year, was his last thing. Oh man, I hate when I do this on air. But I
know what you're talking about too. Yeah, I'm following him too. He's a good player too. You can't think of his name.
I think his last name is like Ben or something. We promise you we'll be in the shows to get his name. Someone like that has more value. Like Andre Johnson going over to Indianapolis, he gives you more value in the PPR league. You know what I'm saying? Or even if you're looking at, like, if your league gives you six points per touchdown, I'll go to your home teams. Someone like Isaiah Caldwell should be a deep sleeper for you because Isaiah Caldwell is a goal line muncher.
Exactly. I had actually Isaiah Caldwell last year in my league, and it helped me get some points too. I just used him because I need to find someone to fill in, and he did great for me.
Yeah, so that's why I tell people you need to know your league. And the first part of the league is knowing your scoring system. Then pay attention to the waivers, the trade deadline. And another big thing, knowing how many opponents you have to go against. You need to know if you're in a 10-man, a 12-man, a 6-man. Because if like you get in one of those leagues, unfortunately it's like a 14-man league, whoever's at the top is pretty much going to stay at the top because the league is so deep that it's not enough great players to go around. Where you're going to find yourself with starting running backs like Joy Bell.
Exactly.
You're gonna find yourself with a starting running back of Joy Bell and Matty Asa. You know what I'm saying? You'll find yourself right. You'll find yourself like having to actually really rely on Niles Davis as a backup to be one of your starters. So you need to make sure that you're not getting in the league that's too deep, and you need to make sure if you are head-to-head guy that you're not in a rotisserie league. Do you prefer rotisserie or head-to-head?
To be honest with you, I never even heard of Road History League, so I'd say head-to-head because